welcome! In today's video I'm going to be having fun playing and experimenting making popping boba bubbles. There's a mouthful for you, popping boba bubbles. My friend that very kindly sent me a boba tea package at Christmas saw my boba making video and has sent me another package of bubble tea. This is a slightly different bubble tea. It's a fruit tea and has popping boba bubbles in it. This is from a company called The Tea Shed here in the UK. I don't know if they're international. So in my wonderful package I have some tea making powder, which, going by the ingredients, isn't tea at all. It's really powdered fruit juice or powdered sugar and some fruit juice flavouring. It's really tasty. I have already been in my package and had a bubble tea yesterday and it's yum. So along with my fruit powder, enough to make 3 bubble teas, came a little pot of boba bubbles. Now I had some yesterday, so I've opened my pot and I've already put my bubbles in a spare container to keep them nice and fresh. These will store in the fridge. I don't know if they need to be in the fridge, but I've put them in the fridge and last for I think 2 weeks once they're open. So these are my boba bubbles. I'll put them onto this white plate so you can see a little better. I'll bring them up to you as well actually. So we have these little popping boba pearls, little round pearls of jelly feeling stuff, but actually I don't know if I can do it with my finger. Oh, burst. They burst in your mouth intentionally and leave this jelly goop and the little outer casing. It's a bit like cod liver oil tablets that taste a lot nicer. We have this squishy drippy gel on the inside and a little fine outer casing. All edible and all delicious. So the pearls are delicious. Fruity. I think mine are raspberry flavoured mango tea. So I have mango tea and raspberry flavoured pearls and they make a delicious bubble tea. It came with 3 paper straws. I think the only letdown on this package, eco-friendly wise, was this lovely plasticky cup for serving your boba tea in. A little unnecessary, but it's all part of the fun. So that was my package and it was wonderful. Really easy to make and it is delicious. But this has inspired me to have a go at making my own popping boba bubbles. Because although I still don't like the feel and texture of these jelly bubbles zooming up a straw and appearing with a surprise in my mouth, they're really nice little jelly bubbles. So I think these will be wonderful served on top of ice creams and yogurts, and definitely great fun for the grandchildren and me. So today we're going to make our own popping boba. So I've been having fun playing and experimenting on and off for the past couple of weeks, attempting to make popping boba bubbles here at home. And finally I have cracked it and it's really exciting and I'm really pleased. So I'm going to share that with you today as to how I managed to make my own popping boba bubbles here at home. Now we need 2 special ingredients to help make our popping boba bubbles, and for that I suspect you will need to go searching out Amazon or eBay or somewhere on the internet to find these ingredients. So the 2 things we're going to need are food grade sodium alginate powder. I've got 100 grams in my packet and I think it was £5.50. Food grade calcium lactate powder. This was £4.50, so combined I spent £10 on these 2 powders and there's going to be enough to make lots and lots and lots of boba bubbles. So here's how we make popping boba at home with our sodium alginate and calcium lactate. Now if you're lactose intolerant, this might be a problem for you. I don't know. So if you are lactose intolerant, check it out, do your research and be safe, because I certainly don't want to make anyone ill. So I've got myself a bowl. So into my container I'm going to put 2 American cup style measures of water, just ordinary tap water. 2 times 8 fluid ounces. Just plain water. So I've got 2 cups of water in there. I'll put this back here. And for each cupful of water, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of my calcium lactate. As I have 2 cups, I'm going to need 2 half teaspoons. There, 2 half teaspoons. And a spoon, we have a spoon. And I'm just going to stir that in until it starts dissolving. In fact, I'm going to leave that and put it to one side to carry on doing its thing while we start making the gelling agent that is going to be our boba bubbles. So I'm just going to pop that over there a moment and we'll make some boba bubbles. Now to make the bubbles, I want some form of container I can shake my mix in. You could use, I've got a Kilner jar here, that would make a really good shaker. If you've got a cocktail shaker, that would work really well. I want a watertight sealing container. I've got my smoothie maker bottles here, which are working just perfectly for me. So into my shaky container, more water. Just 1 cup of water this time. This is where I find a wide-necked bottle helps. That can go there. So a cup of water, add sodium alginate, and as again, it's 1 cup, so half a teaspoon of powders. Drop them in, screw on my lid, and holding my drinking spout, just in case it comes off, shake violently. Now this is going to take quite a bit of shaking. It doesn't want to mix with the water. As you can see, or maybe you can't, I've got clumpy lumps floating about in my mixture. So if you have a food processor or a blender or a smoothie maker, you might want to clip it into its blades and give it a blitz and a whiz. But I found a bit of patience, 10 or 15 minutes of shaking, and it all starts to break up quite nicely. Good workout for the arm muscles. So we'll see you back in 10 or 15 minutes when this is all blended up and ready. So here I am back after 15 minutes of shaking my bottle. And the occasional stir of the calcium lactate. Doesn't take much, this one. This is the one that took the work. So now we move on to the next stage of adding our colours and flavours to our jelly mixture. Now this is just water and alginate, so it's flavourless, dull and boring. And I want to have fun popping boba pearls. So the first thing I'm going to add to this is some sugar. 2 tablespoons of sugar into my jelly mixture. So I'm going to put my lid back on and give my sugar a shake. Now I found you don't want to put your sugar in before this point, because then your alginate doesn't disperse clearly into the water, because the sugar is soaking into the water and there's no space for the alginate to get into. So now we've got our sweetened alginate mixture. I'm going to add some food colour and some food flavourings to make this some delicious, pretty boba bubbles. Today I'm using a green food colouring, and I've got some mango flavouring, mango flavoured essence, the sort of thing you would use if you were making a buttercream for fairy cakes or cakes and buns. So I'm going to put several drops of flavouring in, and we'll give it a taste and see how it is. It'll depend on your flavouring and obviously your taste palette. Give that a little swirl, a little bit of green colouring. Now yes, mango would traditionally be thought of as yellow or orange. I didn't have any yellow or orange colouring, and I thought green will show up better in the camera if it comes out of the tube. Now that'll do. This happens to be a gel food colouring, but I have used liquid food colouring in a bottle, and that's been working very well. So we'll screw on our lid with our flavour and colour, give it a shake. So now comes the worst bit. We have to be patient. This gel mixture has to sit and jellify for about 4 hours. I found that 3 seems to be sufficient. So now we can see after a few hours what was our green liquid is now a glob of gel, gooey slime in my sports bottle. So I'm going to give this a violent shake, make it a bit more liquidy. Now we're ready to use this to make our wonderful boba pearls using our green mango jelly boba mix. So I'm going to put some of our, as you see, it's got really thick and globby, which is what we want. I'm not sure I can get it out with the lid on. There we go. Some green boba gel. So first of all, I want to get some calcium lactate on the spoon. Give this a little bit of a stir and scoop out a 1/4 teaspoon of the boba jelly and drop that into our mix. Now to fish them out. What did I do with my sieve? There it is. I don't know why it's over there. Now to try and rescue our green boba bubbles. Let me see them. I'll tip them out into the dish. Will they roll? Woo! Don't know if you can see. Got a little saucer somewhere. Here. Here's the little saucer I was using earlier with our pre-purchased boba bubbles. I've got some juice on there. Fish them out. Don't want to tip it, they'll all fall off the end. So there's one looking quite nicely. So here's our homemade boba bubbles, ready to go in your boba tea. They've got that gel skin formed on the outside. So I've got a little jelly boba bubble. Don't know if I can pick it up without squashing it. Yes, I can. It should pop to a goopy slime. Nice. So there we have homemade boba bubbles. Yum. Now with your homemade boba, you don't want to be storing them and keeping them for ages like you can the purchased ones from the shops. You want to use these now, in the next hour or two. But you can make your gels a day or two in advance. Your gel will keep, but once you've made it into little bobas, serve them on in your teas, on your desserts, however you want to serve your boba bubbles. So I've placed our camera over the top of my calcium lactate mixture so you can watch some boba bubbles being formed in close-up. This is my blue mix that I made yesterday. Now, having said you need to use your boba bubbles today, I've actually had These boba bubbles stored in my fridge overnight. I left them in a solution of the calcium lactate and they've stored very well. Perfectly tasty and edible today. The only downside to that is now they are solid little lumps of jelly and no longer have that liquidy goo in the centre. And as I said earlier, you can always store your gel ready-made for a day or two in the fridge and just form it into bubbles when you're ready to use them. In this next bit of close-up, I'm using the syringe that came with a bottle of Calpol. It's working very well to create nice little tiny bubbles. The finished result from this is much more like a scoop of caviar than the boba bubbles we use in our drinks. And here's our finished bubbles looking all pretty and shiny. And for comparison, here are some of the red boba bubbles that came with my bubble tea kit. The green, red and blue look really pretty together on this plate. I've been very pleased with my bubble making experience. I will certainly be making some more. Now initially I thought I'd make nice healthy boba bubbles and I would use concentrated apple juice to make my boba bubbles. Not quite so healthy, some cherry Lucozade because I really like the cherry flavour and it already had that nice pinky colour to make my boba bubbles. But both of these were complete fails and I didn't know why, but I've learnt that it's citric acid is the problem. So there will be a natural citric acid in the apple juice, and reading the ingredients on my cherry Lucozade, it does have some citric acid in it. So if you have citric acid in your initial gel mixture, it'll gel and thicken, but when you try and mix it with your calcium lactate, it just breaks up into a, I don't know, not quite a powdery dust, but it breaks up and doesn't hold the little jelly bubble shapes that you want it to. I think possibly a mango juice might work. I'm not sure if there's any natural fruit citric acids in mango, but definitely a pineapple wouldn't and orange won't. So we need to check what we're putting in, and anything with the slightest hint of citric acid is not going to work. I've also seen it made, instead of using calcium lactate, the first one's using a calcium chloride. Now this is a food grade again. I already had calcium chloride in the cupboard. It would be used, it's used in the making of cheese. So I first tried using calcium chloride, and although it does make the little sphere bubbles that we want and works perfectly well in that respect, calcium chloride leaves a revolting, I don't know, metallic-y, horrible flavour on the outside of our bubbles that we definitely don't want. So although it works and creates our little spheres, the taste is foul, even if you rinse it under fresh water, which was the suggestion by the person using calcium chloride to make their boba bubbles. Having made the bubbles and fished them out of your calcium mixture, rinse them in some fresh water to take off that flavour, but I found it does still leave a tainted, unpleasant flavour on the outer skin of your boba bubbles. So avoid calcium chloride, even though others have used it and it works, doesn't taste good. So just a few things to be looking out for when you're choosing ingredients to try your boba bubble experiments. Avoid calcium chloride, make sure it's calcium lactate you're using, and any form of liquid or juice that you're adding your alginate to in order to make your jelly can't contain any citric acid, not even the tiniest hint, because when you try and form it into your little spheres, it just breaks up dissolves into the water and doesn't give you the nice little round boba pearly bubbles that we're aiming to achieve. So that's it for today. Boba bubbles, what fun! Bye for now, see you next time. Now this mango fruit tea is so much easier and quicker to make than the matcha tea we had at Christmas. So first of all I need 40 grams of my powder into my heat-proof container. Seal up my pouch, ready for my next cup of tea. Scales out the way. Add just enough boiling water to dissolve our powders. I use my proper teacup. Give it a good stir to dissolve it all. Smells lovely. Nice mango, delicious. Pop the top off my cup. Once our mango powder is dissolved to a nice liquidy syrup, put my spoon in there a moment. We'll add some ice cubes. Should do. Cool it all down. Now here's where it gets a bit vague and it says, and top up with some water. Well, how much water? Some. Assuming it's meant to be served in this cup provided. I imagine I'm topping up to where the little ridge is on the edge. So now it's cooled down a little. We can put it in a serving cup and top up with water. Oh yes, I will put it in there because I'm going to rinse, get all that mango flavour. Add some more water to fill it up. And mustn't forget our bubbles. And in they go. Where's my fancy lid? There. So that's clipped on properly. Pop in our straw. There we have mango and raspberry bubble tea. Yum. Still don't like the bubbles popping up a straw. I like the bubbles on ice cream or yogurt as a fancy topping. Coming through my boba tea? No. Cheers! I should have my own bubbles in here, shouldn't I? That's a good idea. Let's put some blue ones in. Oh. Fishing them out my fingers because I've got them sat in a little pot. The bubbles we've just made. I'm finding with our own homemade bubbles they float on the top rather than sinking to the bottom. Now, I don't know why that is. There, bubble tea. Oh, straw through the hole. There. So I'll get the red bubbles now and the blue bubbles at the end because they'll be down the bottom. Put it that way you can see. So cheers! Bubble tea! It's not tea at all. Mango juice and jelly bubbles. I like the juice. It's very sweet and sugary. That's probably why. Not at all healthy, but a delicious treat. If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. So bye for now and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it.